Now, we would like to discuss about today. Let's introduce myself. I am Jaran Chai Ekma Paisan. I'm Deputy Research Director at the Graduate School of Tourism Management. This time, we are delighted, to have one and only what we call professional environmental economist, Professor Noritari from University of Hawaii. We have the seminar for today and discussions about a path toward regenerative tourism. This topic is very interesting right now because it talks something beyond responsible and sustainable tourism. And nowadays, as we all know that this topic is become very more interesting and become focused, among our society. And now, within maybe 1 minute, I would like to introduce our guest speaker to discuss research and with only 1 hour. Okay, I give the floor to Professor Nori.
Okay, thank you very much for a very kind introduction. It's very nice to meet you again after so many years. Just a side note, but Professor Agmapisaran and I were old classmates back when we were graduate students at the University of Minnesota. So it's very nice. And thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about some of the research related to regenerative tourism. Should I go ahead and start right now? Okay, yeah. So let me share my screen. There we go. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is some of the challenges that many economies are facing in terms of striking a balance between like health and strong tourism on one hand, and maintaining environmental quality and natural resources for the benefit of tourism and the local residents as well. And I'm going to draw on some case studies related to Hawaii. Okay. So 3 topics that I'm going to talk about include economic impacts of environmental resources. Why should we care about environmental quality when we think about sustaining tourism? Right? And another discussion about destination management options. Right? Probably most of you are familiar with this concept, but I think in tourism, the focus has been shifting from marketing to destination management. And so I'm going to talk about a few examples along that topic. And last topic, I'm going to talk about coastal management issues in general. And this is relevant to many tourism destinations that are along the coastal areas, right? Facing various challenges related to sea level rise, flood hazard, and beach erosion, so on. Okay, so just to give you an idea, not sure how many have been to Hawaii. I hope that you can all come and visit Hawaii. But Hawaii is located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And I think from Bangkok, it takes about 18 hours, maybe one stop to get to Honolulu Airport. And because of the unique location, Hawaii has been attracting lots of tourists. And state of Hawaii consists of several major islands from Kauai, Oahu, Molokai, Lanai, Maui, and the island of Hawaii, also known as the Big Island. Some of the discussions today will focus on what's going on in Oahu, where Honolulu is located. So the first topic that I want to talk about, this is about trying to estimate the economic value of a beach. And in particular, here I'm going to talk about a case study focusing on Waikiki Beach. So this is based on a 2018 study that my colleagues and I conducted to look at the issue. So here you're looking at a bird's eye view of the Waikiki area. And you also see Diamond Head at the back, one of the major tourism destinations on Oahu. Okay, so beach erosion has been an issue in Waikiki, but why do we care, right? I mean, why does that matter? Well, it turns out that eroding beaches will cause a number of issues. One is the impact on local infrastructure. Right? So this is part of Waikiki Beach. It's called Fort Terrace Beach. Here you can see that when there's flooding going on, the walkway gets flooded, and it becomes challenging for people to like walk. Right. So normally it's very pleasant to walk along this beach, but if you have like pounding water like that, it's not very comfortable there. Another issue is that with erosion, the infrastructure that is normally underground gets exposed, and this leads to the further damages to the infrastructure, such as pipelines and other underground structures. But this is going to cause a safety issue too. And this has an implication on ecosystem services too. So this, you're looking at a picture of Kaimana Beach. This is right next to Waikiki. And here you see like Hawaiian monk seal sometimes giving birth, and the mom and the pup, they would rest there, and in fact, tourists can enjoy watching them. But obviously, if with beach erosion, such site for monk seal to rest will be damaged. So this is another reason why beach erosion is a problem. And most notably, Sound Beach attracts tourists, right? And so most of the visitors to Hawaii or on Oahu tend to visit Waikiki Beach. And one of the major reasons why they visit Waikiki is because of the beach and access to ocean water and marine recreation there. So this is gonna be affected if we have beach erosion. And this is not just a future issue. It turns out that once in a while we have what's called king tide, and this will flood over the beach areas. And sometimes, as you can see on this picture, the beach area gets very narrow. Right? So with a beach this narrow, you can see that not many people can go there and enjoy it. Right? And with climate change, scientists predict that a day like this with king tide might become more and more frequent. So this is going to be have a direct impact on Hawaii's tourism. And in fact, because of the threat of king tide and sea level rise, the president of the Waikiki Beach Association asked the governor to declare emergency. Right? So typically we have emergency declaration when we have major natural disasters such as volcano eruption or a major hurricane. But this president is saying that, look, this is not like a one-time like volcano eruption or flooding event, but this is very chronic. This happens very frequently. So this deserves emergency declaration. And so now in an older study, we looked at, well, how much tourism revenues will be lost if Waikiki Beach gets eroded. And so we, this is based on a survey to visitors, and so 58% of visitors from the US, mainland US, said that they are not going to visit Waikiki if the beach is gone. Interesting contrast. Only 14% of Japanese said they will not visit Waikiki if beach is eroded. And that could be because Japanese and some other visitors go to Waikiki for other purposes too, such as going to like nice restaurants, going shopping, and so on. But all in all, beach erosion will still have a significant impact. And we can see that about 14% of total visitor spending in Hawaii will be lost with this beach erosion. And this is because, well, Waikiki is just one of the many beaches on Oahu, but it is a major tourism attraction. So that's why this counts for about 30% of spending on Oahu too. So significant tourism revenue decline is what we can expect with beach erosion. But probably the damage will go beyond that. And that's because tourism expenditure is only a part of what the true value of beaches might be. Right? So to get at this issue, we conducted another round of survey. So you're looking at the pictures of students of University of Hawaii conducting in-person survey. So we were fortunate we could complete the survey just before the COVID lockdown started, right? Like late 2019 to January 2020. And so with this survey on Waikiki, so we looked at various segments of Waikiki Beach. And what did we have? Okay, so in the survey sample, we have majority visitors, but some residents of Oahu too. And turned out that a large majority of the visitors were from Japan back then, and are followed by, the majority is the mainland United States, followed by Japanese and Canadian and others. Overall perception of Waikiki Beach, we can see that most visitors are more or less satisfied with Waikiki Beach, even though there are some areas of rooms for improvement, such as access to showers and bathrooms, and so on. And perhaps crowdedness is another issue. So this is a busy slide, but all in all, what our survey finds is that people do agree that maintaining healthy beach is probably important. And doing nothing and let beach erode is probably not a good idea. Yeah. But the question is, well, how much are people willing to pay to maintain the beach? Right? And so to get at this question, what we did was to apply what's called a discrete choice experiment survey technique. And so we would show a picture of the current beach condition in Waikiki, and we provide some alternatives. So those are like Photoshop alternatives with different beach widths, so wider beach or narrower beach, and different water visibility, right? So some people care about how the water looks, right? And like how far the underwater visibility is. So we looked at this two attributes of beaches, right? The beach widths and water visibility. And we also associate the change in the cost of access to the beach. And this survey response will tell us, well, on average, how much people are willing to pay to have like a wider beach or clearer water. And as a result of the survey, we found that on average, right, people are willing to pay about $14 per foot. So this is about like $40 to $50 per meter of increase in the beach width. Right? In other words, if the beach gets narrower by 1 meter, that will translate into about $50 loss per visitor. And all factors considered, right? People are willing to pay to visit Waikiki Beach for about $389 per visit. And there are similar studies in other parts of the world, such as Tobago and other places, North Carolina. Our estimates might be a little on the high side, but this might be due to the uniqueness of Waikiki Beach. Okay. So those are the benefits, but what about the costs? Right? I mean, clearly the benefits of beach maintenance are large, but well, it's going to cost quite a bit to maintain the beach. So how do they balance? Well, if we look at how much the beach authority is actually spending to for beach nourishment to maintain the beach width, we see that. So this is the number, about $13 million to keep Waikiki Beach from disappearing. So compared to this number, 30 million, we can see that the benefit far outweigh that. Right? So if we multiply the willingness to pay per visitor by the estimated number of visitors to Waikiki, we see that the benefits are much larger, like by an order of magnitude to this estimated cost of beach nourishment. So the conclusion is that maintaining Waikiki Beach as is probably makes a lot of economic sense. Right? So that's the point number 1 and 2. And also recreationists, visitors prefer wider beaches, even though this is a side finding, but if the beach gets too wide, then people don't really want that. Maybe that's because people need to like walk long distance to get to the ocean. And also clear water is important too. So that indicates that like a management effort to try to contain like water turbidity is probably important too. Okay. And we can also see the comparative willingness to pay estimates to various beaches in on Oahu. And we can see that Waikiki has a relatively high willingness to pay compared to other beaches on Oahu. And so this is still in planning, but we are going to have a follow-up survey. At this time, we are going to use like cell phone GPS data to see like how much time people spend in various parts of the island and for how long, right? So this way, so in this way, we don't really have to ask visitors how much they're willing to pay, but the data will reveal the values themselves, right? By looking at the actual people's behavior. So this is the next step. So moving on to the next topic about destination management. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about here might apply to a place like Bangkok and other parts of Thailand too. This is unique to like major tourism destinations, but here we are looking at the population, like resident population of Hawaii. That's orange color bottom curve. So you can contrast that with what's called a de facto population size. That's visitors included. And just like many other major tourism destinations, we can see the significant presence of visitors. Right? So compared to the number of residents, the number of visitors in any given day is very large. So this indicates that whatever environmental impact of economic activities we talk about, tourism is probably a big part of that. But another challenging issue is this. Right? So this is what's called a quantity versus quality aspect of tourism. So if you look at the time series of the changes in the number of visitors and the changes in the visitor expenditures, like inflation adjusted, right? So the blue color at the top is the number of visitors. The expenditure is the orange color, bottom color. What you can see is that since year 2000, the number of visitors have been steadily increasing, right? And you see a significant drop due to COVID lockdown in 2020. But in contrast, if you look at expenditures, you can see that this is not really growing, right? And this is the inflation adjusted. So what we are seeing is that even though we have more and more visitors, altogether they are not really increasing their spending. So this causes a concern about the state economy, right? So when we are receiving so many more visitors and they are not really spending much more, so what's going to be the consequence? And there's also a sentiment among some local residents about tourism. So I'm guessing this might be an issue in Thailand too. But so this is a quote from a local resident in what's called Lanikai Beach on Oahu. So he is saying that, well, in general, it's good to have visitors and it's good to see that they are having fun. Right? He wants to welcome those people, but at the same time, he's concerned about the associated issues such as like congestion, parking, like littering on the beach and so on. And a concern like this is very common among many local residents. Right? So this begs a question of, well, how can we make sure that we can sustain tourism like without causing like too much negative sentiment among the local residents. Right? So balancing local resident needs and the visitors' needs. That's one issue. Yeah. And this, so I mentioned this at the beginning, but this has led to a change in the state government, like Hawaii state government's attitudes toward tourism. So Hawaii Tourism Authority is the government unit that is in charge of tourism. For a long time, their focus has been on tourism marketing. So the objective was clearly to like maximize the number of visitors, right? The more visitors, the better. That was the attitude. But with our COVID lockdown, the attitude changed quite a bit. And this reflects the local people's sentiment like this, and the potential environmental impacts. So because of that, now the focus is shifting to tourism management, right? So don't just try to increase the number of visitors, but maintain tourism in a like a healthy, sustainable way. Yeah. And with that, so we have a new governor who started working the beginning of this year. So he proposed what's called a green fee. So interestingly, his name is Governor Josh Green, and he's saying that it's not because of his last name, but he really wants to have a green fee to like charged on visitors so that we can have funding to spend on like natural resource management. But this is highly contentious. Turns out that this fee is going to be introduced only partially, right? Not like statewide. But this green fee or entrance fee in general, this has a long history. I mean, maybe you can let me know later if you have similar fees in Thailand. But so there's an example in Japan, Mount Fuji, right? It's a major tourism destination, visited both by Japanese and international visitors. And for a long time, crowding was an issue. So the local authority has decided to impose an entrance fee to get into the mountain area. And so it took them a long time to introduce this fee. And it turned out that introduction of this fee doesn't seem to have solved the issue because, so this is actually a newspaper article just recently, a couple of days ago. It seems that despite this entrance fee, by the way, the entrance fee is less than $10 per person, so it's fairly small. And perhaps because of the small fees, Mount Fuji still attracts many, many visitors. And now there's a concern about crowding, right? So people need to wait in line to even get into the hiking route. And so this is causing the local and government authorities to reconsider like what else they should do. Should they go for like a quantity restrictions of people going into the mountain? So this is a contemporary issue. Issue is faced in many parts of the world. And I can talk about what happened to one of the tourism destination on Oahu. It's called Diamond Head State Park. And so this is another major tourist site. And so if you go up to the top of this Diamond Head, you have a very nice panoramic view of Waikiki and other parts of the island. Okay, so what was the issue? Well, so on the left-hand side, you see a picture. This was actually during the COVID lockdown, right? So people couldn't really go in there. So this is the picture taken by a state administrator who went there to inspect the conditions. When the lockdown was removed, right, we had a large increase in the number of visitors from the mainland US, right? So the international visitors, the number is still low, but we have a large number of visitors from like California and other states in the US. And as you can see, so this was a typical picture, right? You have many people on the narrow hiking route. So you can't really walk fast, right? You need to like wait in line to get to the top. Another picture on the left-hand side. So there you can see that it's really, I mean, people everywhere, right? There's no room for like you to like walk fast. And on the right-hand side picture, you see that people need to wait in line even to get like parking ticket. So this was a major issue. And so with that, what happened was that the Diamond Head State Park introduced entry restrictions and reservation system. Right? So this resolved this crowding issue. So there's no systematic assessment about how successful this was, but what the department in charge of this management is saying is that, well, look, the revenue from the fees has increased dramatically, and it's expected to increase, meaning that despite the restriction and fees, people are still willing to pay the fees. And because of the quantity restriction, you also avoid crowding. And so the government is taking this as an indicator that probably this has been a good management option. A similar entry restriction and fees have been introduced in Hanauma Bay Nature Preserve. So this is another popular site where you can go like snorkeling and you see lots of fish underwater. I highly recommend it if you have a chance to come to Honolulu. And so online system to make a reservation to get into the preserve. So you can do that only 2 days in advance. And so this, so what's like the entry fee? Well, entry fee was introduced a long time ago, like 1995. For a long time, the fee was very nominal, like small amount, like up to $5 to like $10. This increased quite a bit with the COVID lockdown. Now it's $25. So this is not a small amount, but still the reservation system is fully booked in a matter of like 10 minutes every day. So it seems that people are still willing to pay $25 to go there. And the visitor count, you can see that this beach park has been fairly successful in containing the number of visitors, right? Compared to the number of visitors to the state of Hawaii, you see an upward trend in the visitors to the state of Hawaii. The visitors to this particular park has been not been growing too much. So again, there's no formal assessment whether this has been success or not, but some of my colleagues in the University of Hawaii looked at the health of the marine ecosystem in Hanauma Bay. And they were saying that, for example, if you look at coral reef, the bleaching was an issue in the past, but it seems that coral reef looks much healthier now. So perhaps this is helping, right? This means that, well, despite this high, what is that? So yeah, $25 entry fee, if you can see lots of fish and healthy coral reef, probably that will still attract visitors. Right? So perhaps this is an sign that the management has been working. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the last topic of coastal management in general. Right? So this goes beyond tourism, but to the extent that the coastal tourism relies on the health of the coastal areas, this is an issue. Okay. So here you're looking at a picture from IPCC report, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So this is a report by a group of scientists at the United Nations. So this is the state-of-the-art climate science. And the science indicates that sea level rise is inevitable. And by the end of this century, like 2100, there will be about a 1 meter sea level rise. So this is a consensus among scientists. And well, this being an island state, right? Hawaii is subject to sea level rise too. So if you look at the map of Oahu, right? Here you see that, so the colored areas are the coastal areas that are subject to sea level rise and inundation. And you see that there are many areas that are affected with even a 1 foot sea level rise. So 1 foot is about 30 centimeters. With 2 feet, the area expands. And 3.2 feet, so this is about 1 meter. So 1 meter sea level rise is going to affect a major part of like Waikiki, Ala Moana, and some areas of the North Shore significantly. And we are talking about what's going to happen by year 2100, right? So this is a major issue. And some colleagues of mine at the University of Hawaii are predicting that a large portion of the beaches will be lost by 2050. And what's concerning is they are saying that sea level rise is one factor, but another factor is very like human cause. And so on the picture on the right-hand side, you see a house on along the coastline with sea walls, right? What's called coastal armoring. And sea walls, so this might be good for the owner of the house, but this is very bad for the neighbors. What happens is that if you put a seawall to try to protect your house from coastal erosion, that's going to actually speed up and accelerate the coastal erosion of the neighbors. So a classic example of a negative externality. So because of that, the state government has banned the construction of such seawalls, but the seawalls that already exist, those are expected to continue generating negative impacts on the coastal erosion. So with this, what can we say about the economic impacts? Well, so the point is this, right? So sea level rise and coastal erosion, well, this sounds like a future issue, right? But it turns out that if we look at the housing prices right now, we can see that the current housing market is already experiencing the effect of sea level rise. So to investigate this issue empirically, we looked at the housing data, right? So there's a company called Zillow that is a major housing transaction portal in the US, and they release their transaction data to like university researchers for research purposes. So we apply their data to see if we compare similar houses, housing properties that are similar, but one is subject to sea level rise, the other is not, then what's the price difference, right, on average? So we investigated that by using what's called a like hedonic study, and this indicates that those properties that are exposed to 1 meter sea level rise are already experiencing discount on their prices, right? So the conclusion is, if you have a coastal house that is subject to sea level rise, then the price that you can expect is going to be like 9 to 14% lower than other houses that are similar, but are not subject to sea level rise. And this is what happens if we control for like number of bedrooms, location, house age, and even for example, beach access or ocean view. Right? After controlling all that, this is what we see as the sea level rise discount. Right? So conclusion is that sea level rise, it's a future issue, but it's already causing negative economic impacts right now. Yeah. So that's the major conclusion here. Okay. So I think I went over those topics quickly, but just to acknowledge some of the organizations that have funded our research. And thank you very much for listening to the presentation. And I'll be happy to have questions, and I try to answer those. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for very, informative, presentation. Anyone here, you have any question, you can write down, what to think about question if you want to have a what we call promote regenerative tourism. Anyone here? You can write down, you can type, so we can ask Professor Nori about that. Any question here? Well, okay. It seems that I perhaps maybe would like to ask you instead. Okay. So, personally, could you tell me how could you prevent, okay, the beach erosions in terms of raising the price for the fee? Any particular method to make people don't spend too much? What happen? You know, if I have a question. If you raise the price for the fee, you said it's going to prevent, but for how long? Going to be that for sustainable for how we try to use the price to raise up the price become more expensive, right? We want to reduce people to coming, but in the next future, how could be that gonna be sustainable? You have to raise more and more and more, or just only $25?
Okay. Oh, very good question. Okay. So how much fee would be necessary or enough
Yes,
for you to
because
sustain the
yeah,
yeah.
because you have to keep in your mind that now the inflation in USA, even Hawaii, as we know, Hawaii is one of the most expensive, okay, city in USA.
Yes.
So $25 is quite a little bit, but it's quite a lot. But in order to prevent people to coming, for crowded or tourists to come to Hawaii, you think you have to raise more and more, like from 25 become 30? And what is the optimal point that it's gonna make what we call the tourism become more sustainable? So, what do you think?
Okay, good question. So well, how much fees will be necessary? I think it depends on whether you combine the fees with the entry restriction. So Hanauma Bay and Diamond Head cases are quite different from the Mount Fuji case, right? So first of all, Mount Fuji, the entry fee is much lower, and there has been no entry restriction. Like whoever pays like 1,000 yen, like less than $10, can go in. In contrast with Hanauma Bay and Diamond Head, there's an entry restriction too. So when you make an online reservation, it quickly fills up, and when the number of people who register for the visit reach the quota, then you can no longer make a reservation. And to the extent that entry restriction is enforced, right? Probably the fee would not have to go up too much. I think the fees would be there for the managing authority to pay for the maintenance. So for that purpose, you don't have to count on fees alone to restrict visitors. You're right, though, is that if you can count only on the fees, then the fees might have to be raised, right? To catch up with the inflation and other cost increases. Yeah.
Okay, any question here in this room? You can type, you can ask Professor Nori about how, the tourism going to be regenerated. You can type here. If you have any question about in case of Hawaii, I think it's similar to Phuket and Samui that we have many tourists coming and we have problem of the beach erosions. And sometimes we have a garbage problem and things like that. Yeah. Any question here? Okay, maybe I have a couple questions. For the first case for Hawaii, okay, when you are willingness to pay and you get the amount of your survey and how that the amount can be in kind of like policy implement. How? You just tell
Okay,
us the amount, yeah.
that's a very good question. So I guess, yeah, I would have to be careful to distinguish what people are willing to pay and yeah, its implication to the management. I mean, you raise a good point in that our finding does not indicate that the local authority can start collecting those fees. Right? I mean, there are many reasons why that is problematic. First of all, legally, right? I think there's a state law or a federal law that says you can't really charge for people to just go into the beach and enjoy ocean. And having said that, though, so probably that's why, well, I talked about green fees, right? And I said that, well, there's a pushback to that, and it has been introduced only partially. And so what we see right now is a case similar to Hanauma Bay and Diamond Head. So if you have a somewhat restricted area, like a beach park or national park, then maybe you can charge for access. But probably it's going to be an issue if you start like charging people at the airport, for example. I've heard that in Netherlands and some other parts of the world, an attempt like that has been. Is that right?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
Ryan, you know
but
more.
now as per your mention, Thailand want to
Yeah.
propose, okay, about to charge the foreigner come to Thailand with a fee, and it's a big controversial. Okay,
Yeah.
now, but I think that's why I want to know how, if we want to solve the problem about environmental problem here with the charging the incoming tourists in order to gather for the revenue in order to fix our problem here. So that I want to know, because the first case that you question how willingness to pay from the tourists, even for the local, and you got the amount that they have to pay like that, even they don't pay the real price. So if we implement in terms of the tourist fee, in your opinion, it does have a pro and con on this policy or not?
Pros versus cons of policies to like charge.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of things come to mind. One is this. So far in Hawaii, and this may be true in Thailand too, but I think the tendency is to try to charge visitors. Right? But to the extent that the environmental impact is solely due to the number of visitors, be it someone from outside Hawaii or Hawaii resident, right? Perhaps if you have to charge people, maybe you need to charge both, like residents and non-residents. And also, I mean, the one thing that willingness to pay study tells us is that, well, despite the legal hurdles and controversy, but to the extent that the visiting beach or tourism site causes some sort of externalities like crowding or impacts on environmental services, to the extent that that is not priced, I think there is an economic ground for the authority to charge people to some extent. Yeah.
Okay, I'm waiting for any question, but I have last question. Okay, today I could say it's very good, very is a good vision, to see the thing that in order to prevent the problem. The last question, I wonder that you said the sea rise level, increased, but as we know that the problem not coming from only that, it's coming from emission carbon dioxide as well. When we consume, something like consumption and become commodity. And as we know in Hawaii, the crowded or the number of hotel industry and restaurant, have been expanding in Hawaii, similar to Phuket, and that make we call climate change, and the climate change causing a big problem to sea level. So how could you have any policy implement not all, because we talk about the last case, right? About sea level increasing, but how you make the islands smaller like Hawaii to become preserved in terms not gonna be in problem for this an increase of the sea level.
Okay, good question. Yeah. I think on one hand, like island nations, and that would include a state of Hawaii and other Pacific nations and parts of Thailand too, like Phuket. Some sea level rise will be inevitable anyway, right? Due to the greenhouse gas emissions that have already been discharged, even if countries start restricting greenhouse gas emissions, some sea level rise will be inevitable. And Hawaii might be still more fortunate than other Pacific island nations, such as Tuvalu and other small island nations. Some of those island nations, they will probably lose a large part of their land. So unfortunately, right, the realistic response in those countries would be to think about like smooth migration processes, right? Migration out of the nations. And in a place like Hawaii, well, I mean, Hawaii can try to reduce its own greenhouse gas emissions, but that's not going to really slow down the pace of sea level rise or global greenhouse gas emissions, because that's what matters, right? So because of that, when it comes to sea level rise, it's more about adaptation. Huh? I mean, how we can live with the rising sea level. And so that might, in some parts of the island, that might involve like beach nourishment, putting sand back to the beach. But other parts, you might need to relocate people or houses. And I mean, you might need to relocate like coastal roads and other infrastructure. So those adaptation efforts will be probably necessary no matter how much greenhouse gas emissions reduction are implemented in the future.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I maybe nobody is here to ask, but I want you to leave the last statement. What is a vital tool in order to be a very, very essential path towards the regenerative tourism in terms of your idea?
Like ideas for like implementing regenerative tourism?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is a topic. Yeah, I want, because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that people, because now, because as we know that as I'm deputy director of the tourism here at
Yeah.
Credit School of Tourism Management,
Yeah.
one of the top notch in the country. So I want to ask you, what is a vital tool based on your research in order to keep, the tourism is in regeneration? The question.
Okay. I can think about three things. One is in terms of the policy effectiveness. I mean, this may be due to my bias as an economist, but I think combining economic based instruments such as fees and restrictions will be probably necessary. Right? We can't just count on people's, voluntary actions. Right? So that's number one. Number two is the local community engagement. So whatever policy you adopt, you need to have a strong buy-in from the local residents, huh? Like be it Phuket or island of Oahu, Maui. And the number three, this is related to the second point, but the Hawaii Tourism Authority that I mentioned, the government organization that is in charge of tourism, it has been widely criticized because it was trying to promote marketing, right? And but then so that's why they are heavily criticized. But then it's not clear what the alternative is. So this is, I think, related to what you are just asking, but because tourism is so ingrained, I mean, it's a big part of major tourism destinations. I mean, the Phuket included and many islands of Hawaii. Probably it won't be enough to have just one tourism agency to try to manage that. I think probably the governor or the top person, the local authority, will need to give like a large authority to like tourism or destination management unit or authority, so that that tourism destination authority can can have a large say in terms of non-tourism related government issues. For example, that could be like transportation or energy. So those other non-tourism sectors that seem to be different from tourism, you need to have a cooperation from organizations that are in charge of those other sectors too. So in that sense, right, I think it's not just enough to have a single like tourism authority, but this authority must be able to work with other government agencies and non-profit private sector too, because otherwise there's not much a tourism agency can do. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but yeah, that's.
Well, that is, it's a very interesting answer from you, because no right or wrong in terms of tourism, okay? But today I asked our seminar under our Fundamental Fund 2023. I'm very happy to have you as our guest speaker, our ESTM seminar for this month. And now I would like to close the chapter for today. If you have any question regarding about the topic here, you can write me an email, and you can send email to Professor Nori Tari, professor from the Department of Economics, University of Hawaii. But today, thank you so much for your, impeccable presentation and useful, for your research. Thank you so much. And I will see all of you next month. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the opportunity. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. See you. Okay. Thank you.